Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow members of the Inner Circle here with IMSE. This is Sean Donahoe, and I'm very honored today to have Jason Suli with me. And he is an SEO expert, but he's also a member of the Inner Circle. So it just goes to show you never know who is right next to you in the Inner Circle. We've got people of all levels, and Jason has literally stormed onto the scene as a SEO expert in his own right. He's got a fascinating story behind it, and he's literally a rising star in our industry, and has some great stuff that I want to literally, you guys know me, I'm an SEO geek as well, and this is going to be a conversation between two geeks, but we're going to keep it as non-technical as possible. It's one of those things where this is an area of business where everyone wants to know the secrets to get on Google, to get traffic, get that free traffic. Why pay for it when you can get it for free? And I want to kind of nail Jason down because he has gone from strength to strength to strength to be someone where if I need something, I even go to Jason and say, hey, Jason, can you do something with this link here or this keyword here for me? Because basically he's taken everything that I do and taken it to a whole new level. It's absolutely fantastic. So Jason, how are you, sir? Working with clients all over the world, being busy as hell. I got a chance to look at his desktop the other day, guys, and I thought my desktop was cluttered on the computer. He's got this tiny little square in the middle where he can actually work because all the icons are all around. So this is fascinating. So how are you doing, sir? And how's Australia this morning?
Hello, Sean. How are you?
Not too bad. Sorry, it was a long-winded introduction, and but I wanted to give everyone a little kind of background about you, and just what I'm going to do. I guess the first question I want to ask you is, first of all, how did you get into search engine optimization in the first place?
Well, that's a good one, Sean. I actually got involved in it back in February 2010. It was through my partner. She'd come home from work one day, and she'd spoke to this gentleman at the work, and they were talking about internet marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a link from a fellow marketer. I think he's based in a country near us in New Zealand called Mark Ling.
Mm-hmm.
And in that first email that we got from him, there was a link to your website, and I think he was talking about Traffic Travis at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and we had found your link in there. And when I clicked on it and went to that site, that's when I then signed up for the Inner Circle. So basically, it was probably from the first newsletter, because I like to look around a little bit and etc.
Mm-hmm.
But from that link on, that's when I got involved in the IMSC.
And that led you into SEO. So you'd not really done much in terms of search engine optimization before that point.
No, that was the first point of contact. So it was straight into your IMS, and I think at that stage too, you just started getting into doing all the webinars and that. So it was just about that time, and I think it was one of your first products that came out. It might have been the video marketing goldmine, and then just around that time it was the Firestorm SEO.
That's
and
right.
it was
Yes.
sort of that product. From then on, I sort of got into because you had Twitter Commando and your E&E course and that. So, but it was the Firestorm approach that it sort of intrigued me because I actually downloaded all the MP3s from that, and every time I was driving to work, I was playing them in my GPS in my car. So I just about knew every module off by heart. So like I had a 45-minute drive and that. So as I was playing them, I just could just recall them all the way back in my head. So, and then just put the practice into play.
Well, that's brilliant. Now, from there, you have actually gone ahead and you have literally dived deep into the SEO industry. I mean, every time something happens, guys, there's an update in the Inner Circle room say, hey, this is happening, or this is happening, or hey, check out this great article. I mean, you are on the cutting edge now. You have built an entire business empire around search engine optimization and working with clients all over the world. So how did you go from like literally memorizing all these modules of Firestorm SEO in your car to creating this entire business? What made you stop what you're doing basically at the time and decide, you know what, I'm going to do this for a living? What triggered that?
Well, it was from when Firestorm come out, I sort of started getting involved in it more and more and more, and from all the courses that have come out, and I like to sort of keep it eye to the ground of what's happening out there.
Mm-hmm.
And probably one of the key things is when we were talking about launching websites and that, SEO still has to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And without the SEO, like the free traffic and that, you can't do much with your website unless you're doing paid traffic. And that's where I started digging more and more into the SEO approach for launching all your affiliate sites and all your websites, etc. So it's a big part of what you do. So I thought, well, that seems to be the main core ingredient, unless you're going down other forms of marketing, that the SEO is the approach. And for me then to get my hands on that, I had to start digging deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And I started following every website out there, Black Hat, White Hat, all Google updates, just getting involved in it, following other SEO gurus out there as well, and just keeping up to date with everything that's going on, and then putting everything into play and testing it myself, and then taking it to that sort of next level. And that's sort of basically how I got into it, by taking it to that next advanced level.
Awesome stuff. And at what tipping point did you decide you've got enough knowledge that you can actually provide? I mean, because Jason provides a lot of services to a lot of marketers as well, who want to, like with all the recent Panda updates, Penguin updates, you're coming up with solutions and automated solutions all the time to, do what you do for yourself. Kind of where I came from. I started, doing it for other companies first, but then started doing it for myself, and now showing other people how to do it. But you actually provide those services. So what tipped you over to actually think, you know what, I can help other people and make money with this?
Yeah, that was a good point. It was basically because when you introduced the Skype room, I was watching a lot of people having problems, having issues. Like, I could see all the information that you were giving them. They were sort of not putting, they were having a hard time sort of putting it into play, and they weren't understanding the concepts of SEO. And I thought, well, a lot of people would, if they can't do it, they either give up or move on to something else. And I thought, no, I might, I'll introduce and help these people out and do a service that, why quit when you can get someone to do it for you? And there are a lot of good people in this IMSC, IMS Center, and it's to me, it's hard to see them go all this way and then say, look, I can't do it, I'm going to give up. So that's what got me involved in sort of doing the SEO part of it, because that I could see people that are having problems. They're saying they were getting slapped by Google and this, and because I had my finger on the pulse, I thought, no, I'm going to do a service that if people can't sort of grasp the concept of it, I'll do it for them. So that's why I introduced that, and then I sort of then took my business from there to another stage.
That's great. And I'll tell you guys right now, I mean, Jason does raise a good point. I mean, when you come to the inner circle or any strategy or marketing strategy, I mean, what Jason's saying is true for the entire industry. You can get all the best information in the world, but if you don't apply it, or you can't apply it, you just can't get your head around it, get someone to do it for you. It's one of the mantras I say, is don't let a simple roadblock like, I don't know how to apply this, or I don't get it, stop you from, first of all, trying to absorb the basics, the base concepts, and then, if you need to, get someone else to do it. And that's how Jason certainly started. And, I mean, he's been providing these kind of off-the-cuff services to Inner Circle members for quite a while. It's one of the reasons I wanted to bring him in here, because it's about time that we gave him a little more of a little more exposure here for what he does. Now, everyone in the Inner Circle who's been around for a while knows who Jason is. And it's absolutely fantastic what he's doing for all our members here. But one thing that I'll tell you guys right now, I've got clients who contact me all the time from before we started developing info products. I mean, I had to let a whole lot of my client base go. And I still have them contact me time and time again saying, we need this, we need this. And you know what I do is when they say, we need more ranking for our website, I say, let me introduce you to Jason. And that's basically it. Again, because I even put some of my stuff that I say, I need a little push here. I say, Jason, do me a favor, put one of your things on this, will you? Because honestly, I used to do all my own SEO. I have teams that do all my stuff now, and we've developed our own teams because I was like Jason. I started off just doing it myself, getting at that base level. And doing, and when you expand and expand and expand, you just don't have the time to do everything you want yourself. So again, you find people that will do it for you. So even from the beginner level all the way up to the experts, outsourcing and finding someone that will provide a service like that is critical. Now, with that being said, let's dive into SEO just a little bit here, because that's kind of like the foundational stuff. But when people are talking SEO, there's two types of SEO. Well, there's actually many, many facets, but you can break it down into two core areas: internal and external SEO. I've explained it many ways, but how would you explain the difference between the two?
Okay, without getting in too much detail, well, internal and external SEO, basically I also call it on-page and off-page SEO, which is the two vital points probably to your overall SEO effect. The internal or the on-page SEO, which I call it, is everything to do with your website. That's internal. So, and that would be to anything from your content, making sure it's 100% unique on the content on your website, or whether you're curating the content, etc., making sure that it's all Google friendly, and everything from your meta tags, your descriptions, everything that's needed for good SEO for your website to rank. And then the external SEO, which is what I call the off-page SEO, is everything to do with what you do outside of your website, and that would be your backlinking, places where you write articles, everything to do with the external SEO effect of it. And with what we've seen over the last 12 months, the changes of that, both the internal and external, can dramatically affect your website if you don't have it down correct.
That's very, very true. Now, with that being said, we're talking about major changes. We're talking about Google, and we're talking about their infinite zoo of changes: Panda, Penguin, Skunk, Marmoset, whatever else they're throwing at us. But there's two main areas: Panda, focused on one area of SEO; Penguin, focused on the other. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between those two?
Okay, Panda and Penguin. Panda had to do more with what was regarding on your website, your content, everything to do with your website itself. Penguin, on the other hand, had to do with more of all your backlinking and everything off-site. Now, with Penguin, which is probably one of, out of the two, if I was to say Panda and Penguin, I'd say Penguin is probably the more of the harshest of the algorithms. Mm-hmm. Whereas Panda now, of late, which we've just seen a new update just come out, right. And plus the fact that now Google are tying in their Panda updates into the indexing algorithm. So in other words, we'll start to see that pushed out on an automatic basis every few days. So, and which I think that is a good thing. Agreed. Because if your website has been affected by Panda, you don't have to wait as long now to look for changes to see that if you've recovered from a Panda update. But Penguin, on the other hand, is still a manual update, and it's the one which has to do with all your backlinking, all your anchor text and everything off-site that point back to your website. And if you have a bad link profile, bad links pointing to your website, that can dramatically affect your website overall. I think it was Panda had to do with affect more of the pages on your website, where Penguin can actually affect your whole website. So I do think the Penguin is the more of the harshest of the algorithms, is the one that at the moment people need to sort of now concentrate on getting a correct link diversity profile out there and having high quality linking that you don't get affected by the next updates that do come out. And I think the last update, which hasn't come out yet, was about 5 months ago. So there's quite a long spell between it.
Now, here's the interesting thing, because Jason raises some good points here. We're talking about your link profile. In other words, all of the backlinks that point to your website, whatever they may be. And he mentioned a phrase there, anchor text. In other words, the text that appears in the link. So like a click here, or your main keyword. Now, you're talking about link diversity. Can you tell us a little more about how important link diversity is and what exactly you mean by link diversity.
Okay, link diversity. What I mean by that is where all your links are coming from. You want a great link diversity. It's pointing back to your website, not just coming from all the one source. So you don't go out there and just keep building link profiles from forum profile sites. You want it to get a diverse range from Web2s, article directories, places where you can put decent articles on. Still, forum profiles, they're okay. I probably wouldn't use them as much pointing back to a website nowadays. But anywhere that you get a diverse range of links, not just all coming from the one source, you need to start varying it up. Now, when it comes down to the anchor text, which part of the Penguin filter is that now we have to start looking at, we don't over-optimize ourselves on anchor texting too much to our main keyword. We now start to get a bit diverse in that range as well, and that we have a lot more different types of keywords and words pointing back to ourselves. And I sort of work on the 20-30-30 rule, that 20% of your main keyword pointing back to your website, and then 30% of your branded links, and then 30% of what we call naked or generic links, which is just like click here, read more, etc. So by diversifying that out with your anchor profiles now, you're sort of not going to trigger off that Penguin filter.
Okay, that's a good question. Now, a 20-30-30, that still leaves 20% left. What do you do with that last 20%?
That last 20%, 20-30, yeah, it's just a bit of randomness there.
So you could mix things up with some LSI terms?
Yeah, just mix it up. More LSI, just generic terms, just keeping the ratios down. Okay. Even if it doing more of your website URL, different versions of it, different variants of it. As long as you don't over-optimize for a main keyword that you're going up. What I sort of like to do, sort of when I'm putting a website is there, I like to get a lot of the branded and naked links out there first, because then when I start to concentrate on your main keyword, I then can work on that hard because I've got enough dilution out there.
That's a very good point. And yeah, that's one thing I do a lot as well. When I'm actually on stage or doing boot camps about search engine optimization, it's one of the first things I say is get the naked links. Don't worry about do follow or no follow. Just get those from related sites, which is I know one thing that you like to do as well, or create these profiles with Web 2.0 sites that are related to your main niche, because that's one thing that I know we'll cover in a few moments, is the relativeness of the backlinks as well. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Jason raises some very, very good points. But yeah, start with the naked links, because what happens is when you launch a new site, you're under the watchful eye of the first round of Google checks, and they like to look at sites and say, okay, is this a spam site or is this a good authority site? And when they see the backlinks starting to come in, and they're not all saying, for example, you released an acne treatment site and all of your backlinks have anchor text saying acne treatment, and you're almost even an 80% ratio. I mean, that's just like a huge red flag. You don't want to do that. You want to go as natural as possible. And that's one of the things most people mess up with SEO is start off small, build up from there. Because over time, you have the ability to spread that load and that focus. Now, with that being said, I mean, that's kind of talking a lot about, we're talking, about external SEO, but let's start with the beginning. Let's start with the actual site itself. What would you say are the biggest factors that someone who's just starting out, just literally got their new website up, what are the critical internal factors they really need to pay attention to when they're setting up their internal SEO or building their site with that internal SEO in mind?
Okay, with the internal SEO, probably one of the things is that everyone should do their keyword research. Mm-hmm. Do that from the ground. Now, that's the most important part of starting off when you're launching a website. Do your keyword research. Once you've got your keywords down that you want to target, then it comes to getting the content written for your website. Now, you want to make sure that content is, personally myself, is like I like to make it 100% unique. Mm-hmm. And make sure that content is relevant and gives the user, because you've got to think in Google's eyes here, you've got to give the user relevant content and enough content and great information that why should Google rank you? So you got to think along as if I was a user coming to the website. If I wanted to read that material, what would I get out of it? Would it be valuable to me? So you got to think along those lines. So when you're doing the content yourself, that's how you got to construct it. So, and your content should contain a lot of relevant information, a lot of LSI, even having links back to other authority sites, giving that overall structure that at the end of the day, when it comes to Google saying, hey, look, this is my page, it's written about acne, I want you to rank it. You got to give that content to Google, say, hey, that's a valuable information there. We are going to help you rank it because you've just provided the content we needed. So once you've got that down, when now is to the putting on your website and the optimizing part of your content, making sure that you've got your keywords in your title of your article, in your description, in your meta tags. But the one thing with changes, like years ago, you used to be able to keyword load everything. Now you've got to be careful now with over optimizing. So it's probably more now to write naturally. Don't think too much SEO, but focus a little bit on the SEO when it comes to your content. So and not overdoing it, because if you overdo it, that you're going to strike a penalty on your site for over optimizing it, and that will hurt you on page. So probably
That's
more of your make sure you only need keywords once, once in the title, once in the description, once in the body, and then just having a lot of mix of relevant keywords there, mixing it up a bit, more LSI, giving what the Google wants.
Beautiful. Now, again, there's a term that we keep mentioning here, and I realize we haven't gone into it. We keep talking about LSI. Now, that's a fancy SEO word that a lot of SEO experts use to confuse us all, but it's become so commonplace for SEO geeks like us. What LSI stands for is latent semantic indexing, which is a great scientific term for related keywords. Related keywords is so much easier, but yeah, it's LSI. It sounds like we know what we're talking about. Yep. But the related terms, like if you have a term, say acne treatment, then an LSI term for that would be acne cure, curing acne, treating acne, and stuff like that. Those are kind of related terms to our main keyword. So that's what we're talking about, sprinkling LSI terms in with your content, using them as tags for your post and things like that, so that when Google comes along, they look at your thing and say, okay, well, he's kind of in this general ballpark of stuff, but I can see the focus is this one term. That's the one we're going to pay attention to. And another thing Jason mentioned there, which is I want to emphasize as well, is, guys, write for humans. You're not writing for bots anymore. It used to be the case. And we used to be able to do a lot of, SEO, another name for SEO is SEM, search engine marketing, which is a misnomer term. It's search engine manipulation. And we, as SEO experts, look to try and tweak things to our advantage. It's what this entire industry is all about. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So when you're writing for humans, Google is getting smarter and smarter with their terms. They understand even the level of education of the readability of your content. So they're down to that level. And if you write for a certain target group and write for a human with, I would say, a 60% to 70% focus on the user and providing authority and value, and then the remaining 30% on optimization, like even your image, you can put your keyword like acne treatment.jpg, JPG, or something like that, or maybe an alt tag here, or as Jason said, in the title, in your descriptions, in your content, in certain spots that are relative. It's don't keyword stuff, don't care about keyword density, irrelevant. Just make sure your keywords are in the right places, consistent with providing value and the message. For example, if I said, every sentence said, when you're treating acne with acne treatments that you can get over the acne treatment counter, that's an example of extreme keyword stuffing. You don't want to do that because it doesn't sound natural. So you could say something, and just to show how you could enter an LSI. When you're considering acne treatments, you've got to look at what kind of cures may be available for common types of acne. So I'm getting cures and acne in there in the same sentence, although they're not together. I'm talking about acne treatments. You know I'm talking about different cures for acne while I'm talking about acne treatments. So again, that's a kind of an example of related terms, but even that is a little too dense. I'm just giving you a rough example.
Can I give a little tip here for
Sure,
users too? When it comes to writing your content, Google practically gives you a bit of a hand in helping write your content. You know, there used to be a tool called Google Suggest, but if you go to your Google search, you know, for your main keyword, if you go right to the bottom of the actual search, Google gives you a list of about 10 or 12 different type of keyword variances or related search terms. That is what you can use to put in your article as well as related content. So you can take one article and write a lot of content related to all those terms that down below, and then you can actually have one page ranked for multiple keywords.
That's a very good point. And guys, if you don't see that, you can also go up to the Google tools at the top, the search tools, and then there's also a link there to related searches. And that's something, you know, that's a tool I need to put in the inner circle, a quick scraper for that, because I actually do have the Google Suggest scraper. But it can also work with the LSI terms as well. It's a very good tool. And it's a very good tip because, yeah, literally you put those terms as the tags and use some of those terms in your article, you're rock solid. Because like Jason said, they tell you exactly what they see as related terms to their, well, you know, to their keyword that you're looking for. So
you can actually help write your article.
Exactly. Now, with that being said, okay, we talked about internal there. And now this is a controversial subject. I'm going to put Jason on the spot here a wee bit. One thing that has really come in the last 2 years is that we used to work against Google, and it was basically a case of screw Google, we're going to do this, and we know how to game the system. But when Panda and Penguin and the Zoo came, it kind of changed the dynamic. Now we're kind of having to work with Google, and a lot of people are still trying to fight against Google on one hand, and other people are just kind of working with them now. So what do you say in regards to adding Google services to your system, webmaster tools, analytics, and everything else? Where do you stand on that? And I'm kind of curious to get your feedback.
Well, before when I first got in it, we avoided them like the plague, but now I use everything. Google Plus, Google Pro, YouTube, Webmaster Tools, Google Analytics. I've got them on my website, and I make use of Google Tools because what's the use in fighting them when they're going to keep bringing out all these algorithms to keep fighting you? So you might as well play in there, because it's their search engine, so you might as well play in their arena. So you do what Google wants. So that's probably one of the main factors for getting ranked in Google that I can think of as play Google's game. That's
exactly right. Now, here's the cool thing. I'm going to give... To play both sides of the fence, because I'm a guy... You guys will know this about me. I'm all about looking for the edge. And something I was taught very long time ago by my father was... Understand the system, learn the system, and you'll find your own holes. So what we do, and it's one thing I recommend, is, yes, install analytics, install Google Webmaster Tools. Make sure you've got your Google Plus profile set up and hooked in with authorship on your site. Things like that. But here's the cool thing. What you're doing is you're showing Google you've got nothing to hide. You're not doing anything kind of crazy and goofy. You're working within their framework, okay? You're building that trust and authority right from the start. That automatically tags you as that you're not a spam site because you're not doing anything stupid, because you're working with them. So that gives you a huge trust factor. And then what you do is kind of like both Jason and I do is we then have our expansive multi-tiered backlink networks and ways we set things up that we basically put the risk and the crazy stuff on other ends outside of our main money site, so our sites are protected in a nice, cozy shell, and we'll talk about that a lot more in another interview here. But yeah, you've got that nice protective shell around your site, which is squeaky clean. All of the other crazy stuff happens on the outside, and then we use those to filter in all that link juice to what we want to do it. And it's a prime example of the link magnet strategy, which both I and Jason still use very much to this day, and it really helps us. So if you, as an Inner Circle member, you do have access to the link magnet strategy in the special reports area. So now, Jason, we talked about that and the protective shell there, and it's something that we're very, very keen on because we want to protect our money sites. You got any extra comments about that before I move on to my next question?
Well, that's probably one of the things you've got to basically do now is to protect yourself from the Google slaps, and that's where we use that protective shell. Like we've seen over the last probably 12 months, we've seen Google, and just of recent too, Google get involved in the PR blog networks, and basically they've been sort of taking them out, and what they basically have told us is that the PR works. Yes. Google. That's why Google give websites a page rank. They tell us that each level of page rank is a level of authority. So, and by them doing that, they basically just told us straight up front that this works. So,
which is great for us, by the way. We exploit that, but
and we exploit that. But and as Sean was saying before, we play Google's game, but as SEOs, we do things that are on the edge that work in our benefit as well. It's basically like a win-win situation. Win for us, win for Google.
That's exactly right.
That's where our tier networks come into play, and it's probably a method that we'll get into probably, as you said, in another interview, because there's a lot more advanced techniques and strategies to do it. But they provide that level of to us safety.
Yes, and that's very, very important. You have that safety net. Now, that being said, that is, like I say, an advanced area of SEO, is creating multi-tiered networks and really expanding that stuff out. But where does someone kind of start if they're just starting out? They don't have our geekery, and believe me, guys, that can be a good thing. Okay, you can obsess with SEO to a point of you live and breathe it, but it's you get stuck in that. So, what is a good starting point for someone who's just got a brand new site? They want to get there. They've done everything we've said with their internal content, and they've got great articles, human optimized, provide value. They're all thumbs up. Where does someone start now with the external? What's a good place to start, and then build up from there? Just to get quickly.
Yeah, probably one of the best places to start, I would suggest, is whether you're using automation or manual. I would just say anyone that's starting out, do it manually. Don't try and go into automation or anything like that until you get familiar with SEO. I would say learn a little bit about SEO, read some ebooks, read whatever you can on the basics of SEO to get you started. But from the point where you've already got your website up, I would suggest putting articles on Web2 profiles, sites that Google do love, sites that will give you a link back to your main website to help get you that kick along, and then sort of progress from there. But I would suggest that if you're going to get into that, know a little bit, learn a little bit of SEO, Google it. Talk to someone that knows a bit about it. Read some info on it.
We got plenty of resources in the Inner Circle as a prime.
Heaps of resources in the Inner Circle. Because if you get that wrong from the word go, you're going to be doing more work trying to get yourself out of it. So
it's very true. That's very true. Plenty of people have had to recover from the Google slap.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it takes to recover someone out of it. It takes a lot more work than doing it right from the word go properly.
That's very true. That's very true. And one thing I always say is, and I'm going to say this, that you can get out of the Google slap. One thing I like to do is, if you haven't got too much invested in a site, is take that content, start again on a brand new site with a brand new name and a clean slate. So you can do that as well and take the other one offline. It's sometimes a lot easier to jumpstart that and go the right way.
That's pretty much it. Like you look at your website too, whether you want to can it or you don't. You know, some businesses may not want to can it because they've got so much invested in it, etc. That's when the recovery part comes into it, and it takes a lot of work. If you're doing maybe like an AdSense site or something that's been affected, and you're thinking, well, I want to recover this, as Sean just said, the best option would be to start again. Start a new site, start fresh. That way you've got no penalties, no nothing, and then you can concentrating on doing it right the first time.
There you go. There you go. Now, we talked about Google Slaps here a wee bit, and that's the basic penalty that Google does. If you're wondering what a Google Slap is, it's where they basically do a drop down of your rankings, and you can either drop down 10 places, 20 places, 50, 100, 150, or out. And a lot of people have seen that happen, and there's no specific way that you're going to know. You don't get a little alerts like, oh no, you're doing something wrong. We're going to tell you no, 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 and there's no one. Your site just drops. That's it. It's automatic. So how can people start protecting themselves right now to avoid that? I mean, what things should they look at internally as well as externally right now to avoid any future problems that they may face?
Well, I think you pretty much touched it on the head before. When someone's launching a website, don't get too geeky. Don't get too SEO mindset. Just be natural. That's a good place to start. Be natural, but still think of you optimizing your content. But by doing that, you're sort of putting yourself in the right mindset and the right starting area when it comes to launching a website. And then after that, then when you want to progress to the stage of getting backlinks and that, probably learn a little bit more about that, because now you're starting getting into the area of what we say is probably a bit of manipulation, because backlinks what causes websites to rank. So, and Google doesn't like artificial backlinks, as they call it, or unnatural backlinks, is where we like to create them. But I would suggest that when you get into that area, learn a little bit more about that.
Awesome. Now, that's good. Now, when you are starting out, we're talking about, naturally building up. What kind of links should they start with? And we're talking about Web 2.0 properties, article directories. Are we talking about press releases? What are the best ways to start to get that authority? Because both you and I know right now it's about relative links that are authoritative. How does someone start getting that and then actually building an authority to their site? And then hold those rankings when they get them.
Yep. Well, once you've got your site completed, and I mean completed like having your Google authorship and everything set up. Google authorship is one of the important things I see nowadays that Google's putting into their ranking factors.
Very much
so once you've got that complete, then looking at the external part like Web 2s. I like using Web 2s because one thing with ranking Google looks at is relevant content. So when you're getting another article written about content that's relevant on your site, you can actually place these on Web 2 sites with a link back to your website. With some of these Web 2 sites, Google have given these sites authority, and I like to look at the overall authority of that domain that I'm putting a link on as well, whether it's a PR2, PR3, PR4, or up to a PR8 site. And I look at the PR on those sites, and if Google have given them a PR, they're a good place for me to put a link on. Mm-hmm. So, and by putting a relevant article, and I like to especially do it with the first tier, as I call it, the one that points back to your main website. I like to have a bit of unique content on that as well, pointing back to your main website, that it's got content related to it, and because everything's related, that all contributes into the algorithms for your keywords to rank better. So that's probably what I would suggest that person would start, and then you can look at your article directories. And there's one thing I like to do when looking at places that I want to put links and that out to is I don't like to use what I call junk links. If I find places I will filter out all the PR0 sites. Mm-hmm. I will only put links on PR1 plus. So in other words, if the site does not have any PR at all, I'll skip that and I'll leave it alone and only put links on sites that Google have given a bit of PR to. Probably my minimum will be about PR1, but I like to sort of go from PR2 upwards.
That's my kind of ballpark as well. PR2 and Web 2s, as Jason's calling them, is like Web 2.0 blogs, like Blogger, WordPress.com, Tumblr, LiveJournal, and sites like that. That's what we're calling Web 2s here. Is because those are blogs where you can actually create your blog on their site. But if you imagine, Blogger, for example, is owned by, guess who? Google. So are they going to give authority to links in their own network? Absolutely, yes, they will. So again, that's a great example. Another one that, again, going to give a little tip here. One thing I've been playing around a lot with is commenting on Yahoo's blog. Because those links are, again, that's a PR9 site, very easy to get approved, and if you do it the right way, in other words, when you like blog commenting, as an example, if you actually comment the right way, in other words, you're relative and you're providing a valuable comment to that article, you have no problem. So you see it now on your YouTube comments, you see everyone out there trying to do stupid stuff. There's no live links in the comments, or they're doing all sorts of kind of, oh, well, you suck, and and that's it, very childish. But on their main blog, if you do it right, that's a great little link there. And there's all sorts of places. Don't worry about do follow or no follow links, because it doesn't matter. If you don't care about that, you have a much more natural link profile. And for everyone who's asking, what's a do follow and no follow link? A no follow link is a tag that is basically was created by Google for Google and nothing but Google, but it's just a little thing that goes in a link, and they respect this and say, oh, well, I don't want to follow that link and give it any link juice leaking from your site. A do follow one is just a normal naked link that doesn't have that little tag in it. So that's the difference between those two. And the reason I'm telling you that is don't care about them. Most of your Web 2.0s will have do follow links, but some of them won't. Some of the profiles and other things you might build that are authoritative won't. And basically, don't care about them. Don't worry about them. If you're building articles with authority links, that's all you need to worry about right now. And we've actually done some experiments, I should say, where we've proven that Google actually ignores no follow links anyway. So it's just one of those things. But don't worry about it. There's even rumors, and I don't know if you have heard this as well, Jason, or it might even be you that told me about this, but Google is thinking about scrapping the whole no follow thing anyway. So,
they are thinking about that because most of the stuff out there anyway, like I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people get too bogged down in is they concentrate too much on no follow and do follow.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. Just go out there and place links. Who cares if they're no follow or do follow? Most of the sites are going to control their own no follow, do follow links anyway. So just place the links. You're going to get that variance in there anyway. So don't become too obsessed with it.
Awesome. Now, one thing we have touched on is you don't have to do it yourself. Now, again, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to get geeky. And again, that's a good thing, guys. They want to have a basic understanding of what is involved with SEO, but they don't want to do it themselves. They want to get someone else to do it for them. So what would you say are the things they should look out for when they're starting to look to outsource their SEO? Now, one thing I've said to a lot of people is, again, go get some Web 2.0 profiles created. We've used a prime example. The plugin we created, Syndication Rockstar, takes your content, tries to make it as unique as possible and pushes it out to Web 2.0 sites. Exactly what we've been talking about here. But when they're looking to outsource or automate it, what are the big pitfalls they should consider before doing that?
One of the things that I would probably suggest if people are looking to outsource it is, if you're going to an SEO person, make sure they understand what SEO is, and do a little bit of research on them, find out their background, their history, who they've worked for, what clients they've done, any examples, anything they can give you to show that they understand what the core principle of SEO is about. Because one thing you don't want to happen is, at the end of the day, is that you're giving someone your website and you don't want that to be tanked, basically. So I would suggest that you do your groundwork, you do your homework first, even if you have to interview that person, talk to them, get them to tell you what they can do, what they can't do, because you then can make an opinion on then whether or not that you can outsource to that person. Other ways to outsource it is, was I see a lot of people mention nowadays, and I sometimes use virtual assistants, which you can hire outsourcers to do your backlinking. With that though, I like to be in control and like to know that it's been done correctly, etc. Because
so.
I've put a lot of time and investment and study into this, and I like to make sure that my client at the end of the day is getting the results that they want. And because if I'm trusting my business into other people's hands as well, I like to make sure that it's done correctly in my way.
Yeah. And you can imagine how much work we put into the inner circle in the I Am Success Center. Now, I do have, like I say, teams that I've built up, I've trained to do a lot of my stuff for me at the kind of higher end and level, not just for this site, but all of our other projects and sites that we deal with. But you can imagine that if I just went out to Fiverr and said to someone I've never seen before, and said, okay, I want you to do an SE Nuke full Monty Blast on this, and I didn't have any idea what they were doing, you can imagine that could also, that could literally get me slapped overnight, or just give me it just could be a complete nightmare. But it's so tempting to see, oh, they could build me 20,000 links, and they could do it multi-tiered, 20,000 links. Great! That means I'm going to be on the top of Google tomorrow. And then you come back and your site's vanished.
Actually, you brought up one good point there too, Sean, going back to one of our previous questions,
Sure.
what someone should do when they're starting off. Start slow.
Yes.
So don't go out there and get a SE Nuke full Monty done on your website, because there's one thing that Google looks as we discussed before, is the trust factor of your website. Within the first 3 months of your website, or even first 6 months, they got what they call a sandbox period, and they look to see if your site's, because it's brand new, whether it's worth being trusted. And if you go out there and do a full SE Nuke Monty on your website, you can guarantee that bugger is going to dance like anything, if not get in de-indexed.
That's exactly right. Start off small, work your way up. And I'll tell you right now, even like Jason said there, you've got a 6-month period. If you start off small and ramp up, and it scales up kind of even exponentially, as long as you don't just suddenly, if you can imagine this like a graph, guys, okay, this is the X and Y axis. If you suddenly come up here and you've got links and they're just coming up here and upwards, that's highly suspicious. You've got to start at the beginning, start off small, and then ramp up from there. And if you do it naturally, like we're saying here, you've got a natural link profile, you're not going nuts, you're going to be far better off than the guy, and I'm going to say most people go nuts. They say, oh, I can rank I can buy this really cool piece of software, and I can get 15,000 backlinks in 24 hours, and they're all promised to be authoritative. They're all saying that it's going to do this, it's going to do some magic stuff. I'm just going to press this one button, and I'm going to be rolling in money. Yeah, where we've heard this before, guys. Have you heard that pitch somewhere before, like every day in your email? Be careful. This is your money site. You put a lot of time and effort into it. Don't just hit a button and hope for the best. It's a long process, and I know Jason will agree with this next word I'm going to use, consistent. You've got to be consistent with your promotion efforts. Even if you're starting up small and you're scaling it up, be consistent. Because if you have a great big spike in activity and then nothing, because you've pressed a button, you've got a spike and then nothing, does that look natural to you? No. That's just going to get you, well, as Jason eloquently put it, buggered. So we don't want that for anyone out there right now. That's why we've got Jason on the line here.
Yeah, consistency is the key. Like if you start off building 10 links a day to your website, build 10 links a day to your website, and then gradually build that up. Don't go out there and then just blast the hell out of it in one day and say, yeah, I've got myself 20,000 backlinks. Great way to get yourself de-indexed and start all over again. But yeah, it's one thing you got to do with Google, because a bot, an algorithm is continually looking at your website every day, is just be consistent with your backlinking. If you happen to do 100 backlinks one day, make sure the next day is 100 backlinks, and the next day is 100 backlinks after that. But gradually build that up. There's only probably one time that Google will allow probably a website that's gained so many backlinks, is if the site went viral naturally by itself.
Yeah, that is an example. Yeah,
they will look at it. They'll see if it's been socially went viral, and then they'll allow that through. So that's probably the only time that you can see. And I know there's certain black hat techniques out there that you can do that sort of thing to make it look like that, but that's getting real in the advanced strategy stages.
Yeah, now I'm also going to say one thing here, guys. There's a term that we've mentioned a couple of times, which is black hat.
Yep.
And this is kind of like an industry term. There's black hat, grey hat, white hat, off shade of grey, cream color. Doesn't matter what hat you're wearing. These are terms of basically how much manipulation and the risk factor you're going to take here. Okay. So, we're talking about black hat techniques. These are usually a very advanced manipulations or loopholes that can, it can be very, very tempting. And I've certainly been in the black hat area of SEO, grey hat, white hat, blue hat. It doesn't matter what color it is. If it's breaking rules, remember, you're not breaking laws. Okay, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here a little bit. I've got nothing against bending the rules. It's not a law, it's a rule of Google. Okay, so black hat marketing can get you results, but I'm going to tell you right now, unless you're very, very, very advanced, you've got safety nets in place and everything else, don't go black hat, because guaranteed it's going to be something that's going to hurt you in the long run unless you really, really know what you're doing. It's very tempting to go black hat and use black hat techniques because you think it's the easy way forward.
Oh, it's very short term.
It's very short term, and you only do it in certain instances where you don't care what happens. It's a short term hit for a short term gain, and you don't care what happens long term. If you're invested in your business, guys, if you've got a business that you want to build up, never ever go black hat. Now, on the flip side of that, one thing I should say is if you do go automated, and I think Jason would agree with this as well, is if you're using automated tools, like Jason said, you've got a strategy where you're starting to understand it and you're learning it, and you come across a useful tool. I'm also going to ask Jason a very pointed question in a second here. This one leading up to this. Make sure you have the ability to spread that automation or projects that you set up over a long period of time so that it's not all happening at once. You spread it out so it looks more and more natural. But I'm going to ask Jason, what are the must-have tools if you're going the automated route? Because, people have got budgets, or, they're not like us. They buy every tool that comes out just to test it and run our experiments. What are the must-have tools that can make life easier? Because SEO is long-term. It's a pain in the butt. If you're having to build links every day, it gets monotonous. So what's the next step after that? What are the must-have tools to automate those things and make our lives a little easier?
Well, as you see the other day, you saw my desktop, Sean. I've tested a lot of tools out. But probably one of the best few tools that I use in my arsenal is Magic Submitter. Now, it's probably one of the tools because you're able to set a scheduled campaign. It has a scheduler built into it. You can basically set you can basically structure out a whole campaign for a website over a month and say, well, this is the schedule for the month, and have that program run. And each day it will continually to build backlinks to your website, and you can have it set that you can build so many per day and have that consistency in your backlinking from it. So that is one of the tools I use in my arsenal. There's other tools like Ultimate Demon. It's another tool. Has a little bit more of a study curve on it. It's
a harder learning curve, but it's a very good tool.
It's a very good tool. Once you wrap your head around it, it's not as easy as Magic Submitter. That one has quite an easy function to it, and is a damn good product. And it has a lot of diverse links in there too. It's not just all from the one site. There's Web2s, there's Pligs, there's bookmarking sites, there's press release sites. So it has a quite wide range of diversity in there. And then there's other tools, like if you've got a bit more of a budget, there's SE Nuke. It's about $147 a month.
Yeah, about that.
And it has a slight learning curve to it too. It does have quite a wizard built into it, which a lot of people use. But same again there. out of the two there, I always tend to probably flick back to Magic Submitter. SE Nuke at the moment, they're sort of, you have your days and your moments where it won't submit and it will submit. So, but I like a tool that's a little bit more consistent, and I continue to keep using Magic Submitter quite a fair bit.
Awesome stuff.
Probably one of the tools in my arsenal that I use is a program called Content Machine, and it's an article creation tool. It's a damn good tool that I use for creating content for my multi-tiered linking, especially when I'm wanting to do a bit of backlinking with Magic Submitter to my tier 1s, tier 2s, sites, etc. Content Machine will go out there and it'll pull out relevant content from sites, and has the ability with I think about 4 or 5 different spinners built into it that will actually spin those articles, and you can set the scale of readability on it, and it'll actually create a very unique article. Now, of course, with spinning tools, you've got to be aware of that they're not going to be 100% human readable. You may have to do some adjustment there, especially when working with my links back to my main site. I like to have that little bit of readability there, though when I start branching out to the extra tiers further out, because I've already got that barrier level there, I'm not too much more concerned about the next levels going out. So, but they're probably two of the main tools that I use every day, is Magic Submitter and Content Machine. Two valuable tools.
Now, one note I'm going to say, guys, I don't know when you're watching this video, but we're also working on a tool for the Inner Circle as well called Rapid Content Wizard, which I think will be very, very powerful for exactly what Jason just saying. So, again, you guys are going to get that for free in the Inner Circle. If it's not released yet, it will be in the tools section very soon, and you'll be able to check that out as well, and that'll be able to help you with exactly that. So that's one tool you can have. And then, I'm going to have to look at Magic Submitter in a lot more detail, because I do have it. Jason told me, hey, you need to re-look at this tool. I've had it for a long time since it came out, but I haven't sat down and played with it. So that's another one I'm going to have to play with in a lot more depth. And, hey, maybe we can come up with something comparable to that as well. Just I'll speak to the programmers and things like that. But those are some very good tools. And, the reputation of both of those tools that Jason's mentioning there are phenomenal. I use SE Nuke a lot. My team uses that a lot. And exactly what you said. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's a pain in the backside with its success rates. But, there's with every tool, there's always going to be a learning curve. There's always going to be a hiccup. It's just part of you progressing as a marketer online. You do have to know the basics, even if you have someone else doing it for you that you trust, and you put them through all the training and everything else. But I'll tell you right now, using a virtual assistant who will basically do exactly what you say versus, say, someone on Fiverr who just wants the $5 and you're gone, there's a huge difference there as well in the trust factor you can have with that level of automation. So, well, I've taken up a lot of your time, and I really appreciate everything you've shared with us today. Some great value, some great insight. Have you got anything else to add before we wrap this up and I tell these guys how they can contact you?
Basically, what I can suggest is people, when if you're starting out and you're a newbie and you know nothing about SEO, one of the best things I can suggest is, from the word go, is just do everything naturally. Then learn a little bit about SEO. Get your just the basic fundamentals so that you can wrap your head around it, so understand it a bit. But just go out there, be yourself, be natural, do everything that you would write your content for a user or for Google. So don't write for the bot, write for the user. And then everything should then just sort of smoothly go from there. Don't get too geeky. Don't get too SEO that I'm going to do this. I'm going to optimize this. I'm going to do that. The days of the old SEO are fading out. The new age SEO is coming in. And when I say new age SEO, I'm talking about the new techniques. The new what I see as the social SEO. The more of the social signals coming into play now. Or the old school keyword stuffing that's all gone out the window now. So you got to now start to focus in this new age era of SEO. So the old school's just about gone. The new school's coming in.
And yeah, Jason really touched on a very important point. Something we've been talking a lot about is your social footprint. In other words, what links and what authority are you getting from social sites? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, any other YouTube, any of these other sites that link back to you and are shared by other people, and that those metrics are very, very important and becoming more and more important, because that's literally people speaking about your site, which means you have authority, that you've obviously built enough trust for someone to share that with you. And we might touch on that in the advanced stuff, because we've got some advanced techniques that we'll probably be able to share with you in the advanced expert panel with Jason here. So Jason, again, thank you so much for sharing all this.
My pleasure,
I know a
Sean.
lot of new marketers here and experienced marketers are probably thinking, you know what, I probably need to do that. So I'm really glad we had an opportunity to speak here and go over these. And again, if you guys, I'm going to say, like, he's built this business up on helping Inner Circle members, but he is expanding rapidly to help a lot of mainstream clients as well. So get him while you can. I'm going to put a little link down there to his website. If you want to check out what the packages he does to help people just like you, you'll see him right there, and you can have him working up his magic on your website and shoot it through the roof in terms of its ranking, and maybe even a few bucks besides. So Jason, thanks again.
My pleasure, Sean.
Looking forward to do this real soon.
No worries.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Bye for now.